Welcome back to LTWS Backstage Chronicles. I'm your host, Jessica Perry, and today we're celebrating a true American musical classic, Oklahoma.
Yay.
This episode dives into the heart of the story with the talented cast bringing it to life. We'll hear from the director, Katie Jo Icenhower.
Hey.
And cast members Chris Cannon, who plays Curly.
Hello.
Rachel Squier, who plays Laurey.
Howdy.
And David McDonald, who plays Judd.
Hey, y'all.
And we'll listen to them as they reflect on their characters, the show's legacy, and why Oklahoma still matters today. So get ready for insights, laughs, and a few backstage stories as we explore what it's like to perform one of the most beloved musicals of all time. And if you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your fellow theater fans. So let's get started.
Let's do it.
So welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to have you here today.
We're excited to be
Thank you for
here.
having us.
Yay,
So
random
excited.
comment. Random.
So we've been... There's a ghost. We have a ghost.
We're breaking some things in order to break the mold of musical theater.
Right,
Sorry.
we're breaking down barriers. We're okay. We're about a few weeks in to the rehearsal process now. How's everybody feeling?
Feeling good, yeah. I mean,
My shoulders.
I feel like we're in. I feel like we're in really good shape. I've done shows where you put it up in like a couple weeks. I feel like we're in really good shape. Katie Jo's been moving us along nicely. No whip cracking, but I feel like it's been paced.
Metaphorical.
It's been paced well, so that we're not at a point where we can focus on just cleaning and really perfecting our craft and our characters and our choreography. But everything is pretty much fully staged. So. That's very nice to have done this far out in advance.
David has a comment.
I was going to say, if you had asked me this question 2 weeks ago when we were deep into choreo week, I would have been like, I'm nervous. As a non-dancer and then premier member of the Dream Ballet, I was like, whoa, I don't know if this is going to be for me. But no, it's great. You know, we talk about, or I've said to other cast members, right, it's like a layering where we did our first layer working with David to get the music right. We did our second layer working with Katie Jo to get all the choreography. Now we did our blocking last week, and we're just in like run through mode. And we still have 3 weeks before the show, so we got to iron it out. You know.
Yeah.
So
Now we put it together and then smooth it out
And this
and
is
make
the
it
best
plain.
part where you can
Yeah.
especially for the principals, you can really focus on, once we're off book, focus on character development, focus on finding those small moments that you don't normally get when your face is in a script.
Or try something different.
yeah.
Let's try something different here.
Yeah.
what happens if
Yeah.
that's the fun
This is where
stuff.
playing happens.
Yes,
We can
this
start
is where
to play.
Exactly. In fact, it was originally called the musical play. This is what the play part of the music is. Yay.
Well, I just want to go around real quick because we do have some new to me faces, and I just wanted
Aw.
to see what your experiences are with Little Theater. If this is your first time working with Little Theater, if you've worked with Little Theater before. Chris, I believe you are a recent transplant to Winston-Salem.
So I moved to Winston-Salem about 5 years ago. I was originally from the northeastern Pennsylvania. Then I got my BFA in musical theater from Montclair State in Jersey. Went to New York, pursued that whole shindig up there. I had a few contracts. Then kind of realized the lifestyle wasn't for me, the professional actor lifestyle, living paycheck to paycheck, getting gigs, but the gigs don't always pay that well, even if they do pay. So I kind of got into catering, and then when I did that, I didn't have any evenings free, lots of nights and weekends. And when I moved down south, I had a son, and then I decided to be a full-time dad. It just made sense for my family, and that opened up to evenings. And last summer, I made my Winston-Salem debut in Hair at Camel City Playhouse. And when I actually saw the posting for Oklahoma, not the audition posting, but the fact they were doing it before I saw Hair, because I didn't know Camel City was a theater. But I knew Little Theater. That was the first theater I heard of when I came here. Everyone was like, Little Theater's the place. So I'll plug you guys there. It was the first theater I knew about. And I was looking at their season, I saw Oklahoma. And I was very curious about it because I had done Oklahoma previously. In my in high school, I did Judd. So now I'm excited to do it again with Curly. So that's a little bit about my background. I'm very excited to revisit this material again, especially with this cast. After sitting through callbacks, I was like, this is going to be a pretty stellar show. So,
What about you, Rachel?
Yeah, so I actually just moved back to the area a few days before Christmas. I was living in upstate New York on my family farm, ironically, given the show. Yeah.
She just came in off the farm.
I quite literally did. Yeah, I grew up on a farm, so I grew up in a very Oklahoma-esque way, but in upstate New York. But I was living in North Carolina 2018 to 2020, so I'm not entirely new to the area, but recently returned, and happily so. So this was my first show with Little Theater of Winston, but I did work with Katie Jo.
Yes.
When I lived here before, we did Legally Blonde,
Legally Blonde and Aida.
together.
Wow.
Yes, some of the hardest dancing
Yes,
ever.
those were very
And the Aida,
dance-heavy shows.
Yeah.
So Katie Jo very much knows me as a dancer, so I was
Yes.
happy to and nervous to come out and try to prove myself as a singer too.
Did amazing.
Yeah,
So
but
talented.
I saw the posting. I saw that they were going to do Oklahoma before I moved back here, and so I was like laser locked in on that. I was like, oh, I'm coming out for that. So I had been preparing for like months for this. I really, really, really wanted to do this show.
She slayed.
So I definitely overthought everything. My friends are so annoyed with me. They're like, Rachel, stop talking to us about the auditions. Like, you're gonna be fine.
And you used to be a farm girl too,
Yeah.
so this is
Right.
perfect.
And
Yeah.
Rachel and I were like in the same audition group, and I like stayed after so that I could read sides for Katie Jo. And Rachel, we were out in the lobby like after waiting for like the next group to go through, and we were just sitting there gassing each other up. I was like, "Oh, you've got this." I mean, she did her own like ballet
It's
audition in our group, and it was so good. And obviously, it's a podcast, so you can't see her right now, but she looks the part of
She
Laurey.
manifested
So yeah, truly manifested it. So
Yes, ironically, David and I, David, who's Judd, were like one of the first people to connect at audition. So it's so funny that like in the show we have like such turmoil against each other when he's like one of the first people I bonded with in this cast.
yeah.
So this is a great segue. So let's talk a little bit about your characters and what your characters are like. If you're anything like your characters, who's most like their character?
David is nothing like his character. I'm sorry, I'm just going to speak for him on this one because Judd is not all mentally there. He is a blowhard that explodes at a moment's notice and can be mean and rude. And David is the nicest person. He's just a sweetheart and everybody
gentle
loves
giant.
him. I know.
It was
so he is acting his butt off. Sorry.
Have you worked with David before?
We actually were in the producers together
I think it was like 08, 09 over at High Point
forever
Community
ago.
Theater.
Forever ago.
yeah.
When he was 12. No, I'm kidding. You
14.
were
Like 14, but still in the producers, which I look back at that show and I'm like, how did my parents let me do that as an ensemble cast member when I was 14 years old? I saw it obviously when Little Theater did it last season or the season before.
The season before this one, yes.
Yeah,
Or 89.
so-
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, just to expand on what Katie Jo was saying, not particularly like Judd. He's very reactive, and I'm much more like tempered in how I respond to things.
So is it difficult for you to bring that side out or fun?
I don't think so, because what I think is just like everybody, I've been mad before and like can hold things in and things build up. So I know like what that explosive energy can be. I think one of the things about Judd as a character, we're talking about why Oklahoma is like still important today, right? Judd, I think in his life, from what we see in the show and how people have talked to him and what other characters say in the show about him, I think that he is a victim of like a lack of love or understanding. And so in our landscape of the country today, I think that a lot of people are still like missing that and feel not heard or underrepresented. And my hope with Judd, rather than just bringing like this villain energy, I always tell people I prefer antagonist. But rather than bringing like that villain energy, like I hope to really kind of like humanize his struggle a bit, because I think that it's one of the he's just missing one of the base layers that I think all of us in this room have had.
Love.
Supportive family, supportive friends. So I think that's just kind of be important for me to like bring up for him, so that there's a part of him that's can be relatable to some people, or at least people feel like conflicted in how they feel about him and what his, purpose for the show is. So
Yeah, that's amazing. So Rachel, tell me a little bit about your character.
Yeah, so Laurey is kind of a sassy, spunky farm girl, but she still has her feminine, ladylike, prim and proper side to her, which is why I really like her. And I feel like I can really relate to that of sort of like having the both sides, right? Like growing up in New York, people up north are a little more rough around the edges, but I feel like I also have like a soft side to me as well. But I love her dynamic with Curly. I love that they kind of playfully roast each other a little bit. I feel like I grew up in a family where our love language was roasting each other.
A lot of sarcasm. For sure.
I kind of love that they just like make digs at each other, but it's like their way of like trying to kind of
Flirt.
like rile the other up to flirt a little bit, which obviously they end up taking it way too far and play games with each other, which creates all sorts of conflict that did not need to happen at all. But they're young. They don't know what to do, right? They're not experts in dating, but it's just kind of fun for the audience to get to see all that unfolds because of their stubbornness.
And isn't it also, I think, a little bit of not relinquishing control?
Mm-hmm.
So if you give in to the other person, you've
Yes.
given up your position on the board. So they are constantly
Playing a chess match.
maneuvering.
Right.
That's right.
It's a chess match.
Right.
And you're
right.
like so
Act one
in
especially.
tune with that too, Katie Jo. Like in the blocking, like that's come up. I mean, not just for like me and Chris's scenes as Judd and Curly, but like with them two, with us two, it's all about like how you have that like power and are controlling
Getting
the
the upper
narrative in
hand.
the
Right.
moment.
Right. In the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
so
each
attuned to
moment
that.
changes. And I think that's what makes, one of the things that makes this show great. So, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I relate to Curly in a lot of ways. Not in every way, but Curly's like a kind of like. I think he's clownish in some ways, like class clowning, kind of like a lot of energy, playful. I feel like he's always trying to like, again, like what she said, like find like a sarcastic comment that's gonna like push someone a little bit too far, or like just to try to get people to react a little bit to him. He's definitely like likes to be in control of the situation at all times. Like he's always looking to have that control, and if he can't have it, he's kind of manipulating his like relationships a little bit to get that control. So there's lots of moments in the show where he's purposely like, I would say not lying, but purposely like withholding some truth in order to get another character to do exactly what he wants. So I don't relate to that necessarily. I'm not saying I'm a manipulative person, but
Aren't we all, though?
Chris telling
A little
himself.
bit. I think Curly also has a lot of bravado.
Yeah,
in him.
bravado,
He's like,
yeah,
aren't I
oh, yeah.
awesome? But covering his own
So I feel like that's actually relatable to a lot of people. A lot of people read overconfidence and bravado as actual confidence, and I think that's another theme that makes it relevant today. A lot of people who are the happiest people sometimes are the externally happy people are sometimes the saddest people, as we've learned from a lot of comedians, a lot of actors. Sometimes the people who are the most outgoing, most playful, most fun are actually suffering from the most demons inside, and that's something that I can relate to with like mental health challenges. It's just a matter of like people put up a front.
I feel like we should mention that May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. That just
So
smooth segue.
So piggybacking off of what you say, yeah, he has so much bravado, so much external confidence, but underlying that, he legitimately wants to kind of prove himself and to win over Laurey. So a lot of that overconfidence is to cover up the fact that he's not quite sure if Laurey is gonna end up going for him, and that's kind of this whole show is like these are the two people in town. They probably grew up from little kids. They knew each other.
I was gonna ask how long had they known each other?
It doesn't say in the script,
like
but-
they have like this brother sister almost.
Yes.
I mean, other than the fact that they're not related and then they
I
are
would
attracted
say
to one another. They they have this like way of teasing one another. Like
because of the time period, I would say me and Laurey definitely probably grew up in this town. And
We
knew each
know when
other.
they met, she was
Oh, yeah, at
riding
the
that
fair.
little filly
they're
at the fair.
So
She
they met
was-
as teenagers, as like young teenagers.
Probably,
earlier.
yeah, I would say.
Preteens.
Yeah, maybe tweens.
Tweens, yeah.
12, 11, 12 in that range.
And we probably have been peripherally like, not like kind of doing this whole shtick for a long time.
And we know Judd's been there 4 years.
4 years, yeah. So Judd's kind of new to the love
But all
triangle.
from over Oklahoma.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tulsa,
Yeah.
Quapaw.
Right, so he's an experienced man. And while he's gruff around the edges, he is a contemporary of Curly's, which does open up the possibility of Laurey being is interested in him rather than Curly,
Yeah.
which puts
And-
that whole situation, it makes it absolutely believable.
And Curly just assumes that because of like I think people of this town. I mean, there's scenes where they say that they talk about us, like people in the town, like, oh, Laurey and Curly should be together. They're the
Fish.
They're the big fish in this town. Like Curly and Laurey are attractive and all that other stuff.
But I feel like it also goes to show that Curly and Laurey have been like you know,
Yes.
connected at the hip kind of
The it
for a
couple,
long
yeah,
time, right? And there was a point right where obviously they've met in that sort of preteen age. A lot of changes happen between those ages, right? And so there was probably
Grow
a
into yourself.
moment
changes.
where
Adolescence.
there's definitely like a moment where the relationship changed from like, oh, boys have cooties to, oh, are we crushing on each other? You know, and everybody's noticing it and probably realizing it before they realized it.
And then add the layer of it being
like it.
1906 and the like repression, like
Well,
not like,
yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
It's different than it would be today.
Yeah, don't show your ankles.
Yeah, it would be if different than it was today. Like there's a lot more tension, there because you can't really. It's frowned upon, like obviously to get close physically or so to add that extra layer of tension built up from
I mean, if they grew up as
tweens.
childhood friends too, they probably are like, what if I'm wrong and we mess up this relationship?
Correct.
Like, can we move to that next?
Which is probably
It's
why
that
they're
awkward.
so
Yeah.
like,
Hesitant.
who's gonna tell first?
Yeah.
Right.
Who's gonna? It's like they're testing
Ryan
each
and
other
So relatable.
for like who's gonna be vulnerable first and
Yes.
admit that they have feelings for the
Yes.
other.
It
Good
goes
point.
back to that whole like you're relinquishing that like power if you like say something, right?
I
And
wonder
it's
if
not
that's
reciprocated.
why Laurey picked to go with Judd to test.
It's also to make him jealous.
'Cause
Let's
he-
be
Knock
honest.
me down
Because
a
he'd
rung
be
a
the
little
one
bit, too.
person, perhaps, that he would actually be threatened by.
I think
Probably.
yeah, because I think obviously there's also the underlying like farmer cowman whole like them versus us type of thing. So I think from my perspective, she chooses him because she knows it'll get under my skin the most. I don't think Curly would be happy with anyone else with Laurey, but I think that Judd was definitely a pick for her to get the most under my skin, and I don't think she knew like exactly how that would affect this love triangle dynamic
No.
in really not great ways. So it's kind of like a series of events that kind of turn bad. A series of decisions that both Laurey and Curly make that kind of progress this plot into. And Judd,
And honestly, if she had handled the rejection of Judd better, it also would have affected the whole thing differently. But she jumps in with both feet hard, and I think it's his reaction to that, because he is a reactive character, that make the whole thing explode. So, just saying. Okay.
Do you think he'd ever had like a lot of attention from women or
No, you don't buy playing cards with naughty women on them if you have
Back
plenty
then.
of women, or even now, or I mean, if you have plenty of attention from women, you don't need all that.
Yeah.
So he uses the cards as a substitute for what he really wants. And what he really wants is a real
I'm gonna get me
relationship.
a real woman.
Yeah, I'm gonna get me a
That's a lie.
real woman.
Because she did show tenderness towards him. She comes out to the smokehouse when he's sick and puts her hand on his forehead to feel if the fever's there, and really cares about him because he is running the farm. And that moment is when he locks onto her as the one, and that's part of the issue as well. If he had not fixated on Laurey, if Gertie had been an option.
Right, yeah. If he was working on Gertie's farm instead with her aunt,
I'm
it'd been
just
Gertie.
saying
Yeah.
I think Judd's character is prone to fixation.
Yeah. Well, and I think that he sees, he's working on this farm with Aunt Eller and Laurey and sees himself as like the natural male presence on
That's
this
right.
farm. Again, it's 1906. The women
Right.
don't run the farms. And the positive things that are said about Judd in the show are how he is so good at doing the work. I think Aunt Eller says that she couldn't run the farm. Like, he's important when you're like ragging
Yeah,
on me.
you know
She's like,
as
don't
well
do
as
that.
I
She's gonna go with him? Yeah.
Right. But I think that he kind of sees this like void that he can naturally fill, and that's why he like hyper fixates. And I go to the point when me and Rachel have like our final like blow up as Judd and Laurey, where he sees that, like Katie Jo referenced, like that tenderness of her like taking care of me when I was sick, and I'm recalling that memory, and she's like, I remember, and I latch onto it as like my last sense of, hope that this is like, oh, this is my end, and then it's all dashed and it blows up and it
that's
goes
why
the other way.
he reacts so strongly. I
Yeah.
think. Anyway.
And that seems like, we were talking about it as we were blocking it the other night. It's so intense because it's like on one end of the emotional spectrum, and then like 3 lines later, it's
Yep.
just so reactive and different
He's
and
probably
jarring.
bipolar, don't you think?
Yeah, we're on the
Remember,
spectrum.
May
We're on the
is
spectrum.
mental awareness.
I was actually going to ask if there was some sort of like neurodivergency or something that exists within Judd.
You
Like
could
if it was in
definitely
I
say
think
today.
Judd, because his
Definitely.
emotional roller coaster goes, zoo. I mean, it goes. He bottoms out quick. He goes to anger quick. I think he has got. I don't know exactly what
Right,
it is
yeah.
because we can't.
They didn't diagnose back then.
You got problems. And then he exacerbates it by drinking heavily. And that's what causes him to make bad decisions, like coming to the wedding with a knife
and then that
in
doesn't go
front
well.
of a bunch of witnesses. I mean, if he really wanted to kill Curly, wait until Curly is by himself.
bring a gun.
Go at night, bring a gun, and wait until it's dark. Judd could have killed Curly if he had really wanted to. His problem is he's reactive and in the moment. And when he's upset, he knows they're getting married, he drinks, and he's trying to forget it, and he just can't. So he shows up and
He
to his own-
knows though about like being smart about when you're really upset about somebody.
No,
No?
he tells a story, and there is much debate. And I know people have played it both ways. People have done both ways. He tells a story about a guy on another farm who collects kerosene in small bits over a lot of town and burns up the house
That weren't
with
no
the parents. It weren't no accident. He told me like it had happened over somewhere else, but I know it was the farm on, I don't know, Claremore.
I think even when I like read the side for you that night, I was definitely playing
That
it
was
like,
you?
oh, I did this.
No,
but
and I disagree.
getting that
multiple ways.
direction
I
is just,
think-
it
I-
makes it
Scare me.
so different.
I think you're just trying to scare me away.
He is trying to scare Curly
"Stay off of
away.
Laurey or I'll do
Right.
something crazy."
Or because I will find a way to get you, I will be manipulative. But he's never manipulative. He always reacts in the moment with whatever is going on.
He is
Even
not a
at that
planner.
moment when he gets angry a few lines later and shoots his gun
And
and a hole in the roof. This is not someone who collects kerosene over months and
I think that's
And is like so tender with Laurey in a moment,
Right.
and then
It's
the
like the one
next is
moment-
like grabbing and
Right.
being physical with her. Like
Right. He
he is
has-
not a planner, which again makes him different from me
That's-
because I'm so type A in my planning.
That time when you talk about the other fire, I think it's one of the only times that Judd shows like a side of like maybe a deep like some like intelligence that's like, oh, I actually can manipulate this situation. Curly's always the one manipulating.
Yeah. He's actually quite intelligent. I think Judd's problem is that he is reactive and emotionally on a roller coaster, and that seems to lean towards him having, and I don't know, bipolar something where it's too far.
Or past of trauma or something.
But I'm so glad
Could
that you
be.
said that, because literally as I was driving here today, I was like, I hadn't really taken the time to like think about, creating like this backstory for him. So I was thinking about it in the car on the way here, but I was like, he definitely, I think, comes from an abusive home and has seen, kind of how his father probably abused his mom or even him in some format. And I think, again, going back to this kind of like lack of love, lack of sympathy, like that has to be something that's just kind of been a theme throughout his entire life, and to be reactive and to, survive all these different situations. But
And to head out on his own pretty young.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not that much older than Curly, and Curly's been living in the same place all his life, and Judd's already been all
Lots of
around.
places.
Yeah.
So,
And I
And
think
then to be
that's
that
where,
close, or him believing he's this close
This
to
close.
finding it.
right.
Finding a home, and a
Finding
person, and a
love.
place.
Yeah. He thinks he's going to take over the farm
And marry.
and marry the girl there, and this will be his land, his place.
I just thought of something. Do you think that maybe that's part of why Laurey is so freaked out about Judd being interested in her is because he is older and has been on the farm since she was probably like
4 years.
12.
4 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
4 years.
So like 13. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
And so she maybe saw him more as a father figure than a potential suitor.
I think he comes on recent enough. She's probably already. Plus, Laurie's been through a lot. Her parents are nowhere to be found.
we assume they're
So
dead,
she's,
yeah.
So she has her issues too.
Right.
I mean, but only 4 years on the farm. We're assuming she's 16, so she could be 17. What is it they say about Gertie? She says she's 18.
18.
I bet she's 19.
Yeah.
So you must
Right.
be around
Like
or
So
slightly.
you could be
17,
18.
yeah.
If so, that means 14. So you were already through puberty when Judd showed up. So, and we don't know how long Laurie's been. Well, no, we do. She's been there a long time, long enough to be.
Yeah, I met Curly at the fair. when
At
they
the
were
fair,
preteens.
right.
And I think, knowing that this kind of
But that's
like
a good
past of
point.
Judd, where he could have like come onto the scene, he could have been relatively like young for a farmhand. But I think that because people talk positively about him as a farmhand, I think that is where he kind of like sees his value as a hard worker. I think about like the bidding scene at the box social. He takes all of this money that he's earned for 2 years, demonstrating like his value and worth, and tries to sink it into Laurey's basket.
But he saves. He
Yeah.
saves and plans on that. To credit, I love that's a possible that she could see of him more as a father figure because he's been running the farm, for these 4
Yeah,
years.
I just am speaking from like a woman's experience. It's weird to go from being too young for older men to then aging up into now older men are attracted to you. And it's a really weird shift in a woman's
Right.
experience. And so I wonder if maybe that's part of why she's so sketched out.
How long
Right.
have you
by
been
Judd.
saving the money?
I mean, I think of the line I say is all I've saved for 2 years doing farm work.
So
all
how
for
long
Laurey.
has he been interested?
Oh, I think since
That
he got on the
Laurey-
farm
yeah,
and
since
there
he
was a
saw
young,
her,
attractive
yeah.
woman there, he's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's me.
And then she is dumb and shows you kindness. Just kidding.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting that this is the first musical that Hammerstein actually wrote the lyrics before the music was written, because he felt that the play, the story, was more important, and that when a scene got to its emotional height, Roger said, then the music should come out of that. So they actually wrote the scenes focusing on where the emotional heights would be, and then putting the songs in there. And the lyrics came first time that was ever done. So.
And then
Yeah.
and the whole shift in the industry. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
well,
change.
yeah.
for modern
No,
musical
that's
theater. Yeah.
you're exactly right. So that's
And
why
the
it's a
dance
watershed.
forwarding the plot a lot of the times.
No, it really does. Actually,
Sometimes.
I mentioned this before, but technically, there was in 1866 there was a ballet troupe stuck in I can't remember where, and they ended up putting together a show. So that was the first musical, and the dance was the plot.
Yeah.
So there was a weak story about fairies and magic and blah blah blah, and nobody remembers it because it was terrible. But the dance was totally part of it, and then it was going more that way. Porgy and Bess, 1935, but technically that was a light opera or an operetta.
Operetta, yeah.
Because they had the recitative, the thing they make fun of in Something Rotten.
Yeah.
So when they change to another note, you notice.
That's a lame spoof right there, I think.
Right,
Yeah.
of course it is. And it's supposed to create a dramatic effect, but really you think, why aren't they talking? But 1942, Porgy and Bess was revived, and they cut out the recitatives and just made it dialogue. So technically, and its dance also forwarded the plot, technically Porgy and Bess might be considered the first musical. Or Showboat. 1927. Okay.
I love watching her brain come alive.
Okay. Well,
Us too.
but here's where one of the things that Oklahoma did totally different. It used to be musicals all started with a big number. Showboat, Porgy and Bess included all those. For the first time, the curtain opened and there's one person on stage.
And Eller churning butter.
And then you hear singing off stage. That totally changed the dynamic and the focus on the story throughout the whole thing.
Story.
So that's where the shift happened, and because everything shifted with it. Showboat did something similar, but then the Depression hit, and everybody went back. We need more leggy girls. You got to have a star in your show. More jokes.
Then we got back with modern musical theater doing story-focused shows. So.
Yeah. So anyway,
Circle.
It's a circle. Although we don't see a lot of we do. What am I saying?
Lot
I
of
started
revivals.
to say you don't see a lot of musical reviews, but what are jukebox musicals? They're musical reviews focused. That's right. Let's find a way to put in all
Some of them are really
ABBA
good.
songs in one
Some of them are
show.
good. Yeah.
Jersey Boys. We'll find a way to put. So it's in a way going back to the Follies.
Yeah.
Oh well. Anyway.
We'll circle back around again.
Yeah, it sure will. And it'll start with Little Theater of Winston-Salem's production of Oklahoma, opening June 6th.
David would be so proud.
Thank you.
So, just a quick question. What song plays in your head on repeat from this musical?
Oh, gosh. Probably should be one of my own.
Your songs are so catchy.
Honestly, it's usually, I find it's the ones that other people are singing that in the hallways.
We just had a music rehearsal last night, and I think that usually I've said that my go-to song is "Surrey with the Fringe on Top."
It's repetitive
It's just
and
so repetitive and
that's
catchy.
That's my answer.
But Martha Glenn Bowers, who plays Ado Annie, her solo in the show
I ain't saying
is just so good. The way that she does it, her inflections, her little yips.
She had some country twang to it.
Yeah, it's so good, and so that has been playing in my head recently,
Her
since
version
last
of
night.
the song
Her version of the
specifically.
song. Yeah, she's so talented. It's so great.
Can I say that? I'm sorry, infotainment.
Do it.
So,
Do it.
Hammerstein's favorite number in the show was Surrey with a Fringe on Top. He said it made him cry every time he heard it because it's about the beauty of innocence, finding joy in those little things.
very
The
descriptive.
lark waking up in the meadow and slowing the horses down and watching. It made him cry every time he
I will
saw
say
it.
it took a bit
Because
to
the
memorize all the lyrics to that one because it's just so repetitive and I having done the show before and I didn't play Curly before, but that song I just sing it all the time for the past 10 years, but I wouldn't sing it correctly necessarily. So having to unlearn all my made up verse. I mean, I made up lyrics, made up verses, and then relearning the actual order of the lyrics.
Ducks and
all
kids
the,
and
all
bottles
the descriptors. There's like, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And finally, I was like, yeah, I memorized it. I unlearned all the wrong stuff.
We should just make up random lyrics now. It's like,
Different every show. What's he gonna say tonight?
Kind of
It
furry.
would be the right words, but just like the wrong order.
Right. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
My goodness. I don't know which one gets stuck in my head the most, but I feel like my favorite is Many a New Day because I think that song is so funny. Like, it's such a pretty song, but she's quite literally saying, I'm not crying over a man. There's plenty more out there. And that is amazing to me.
And that was also unusual for Rogers. It was the first time he didn't have a counterpoint medley to the medley. It is just the melody medley. You meant what I knew. Don't judge me. The melody doesn't have a counterpoint, which he always wrote a counterpoint in, and he did not on that song because he wanted it to have its simplistic statement in there.
Oh my goodness.
So more
Did not know
useless
that.
information.
I'm learning so
I
much.
know,
today.
yeah.
I'm like, you need to do like a musical theater history course at
Right.
Wake or
There'll
something.
be a quiz. Okay.
Start a YouTube channel or a podcast. Yes.
There you
Podcast, right?
There you go.
We're gonna do. We're
Special
gonna.
episode, Little Theater, Winston-Salem podcast.
Wouldn't it be great
Katie
if you
Jo,
we could do a trivia time.
musical theater history.
That would be great.
and the former partner of Rogers who died for drinking himself to death was
Oh, crud. You just talked about this.
Hart.
Oh, Rogers and Hart.
Yes.
Rogers and
Richard
Hart,
Rogers
yeah.
and Lorenzo Hart. Hart did not want to do Oklahoma. He said, a country. Nobody is interested in country stuff, especially not if you're going to write the dialogue like that. Because they actually, one
Oh,
of
the
the first
phonetically
shows to write.
spelled dialogue or.
Yeah. So, but he died shortly after it opened. He was out drinking and fell asleep in the rain. He died just like a few months after it opened.
He was so sad that he wasn't a part of it.
No, he had alcohol issues. He showed up in the back of a theater for one of his own shows, singing loudly along badly with the lead, and they had to literally take him out.
So is he Judd?
Yeah, literally.
No,
I was
no.
just about to say, was he in for
Is he being spoke for
No,
Judd?
He
no.
was a suffering artist.
He was an artist with
Tortured
demons.
artist.
A tortured
Like a lot of
artist with
artists.
Like
demons.
Poe.
Right.
Another reminder
you
that
go.
May
Another
is
tortured artist.
Yeah.
mental health awareness.
Yeah.
May is Mental Health Awareness Day.
Right.
You did not hear us say it once or twice or three
I
times
don't know why we're sharing that.
because we're in theater.
Oh, yeah.
That's
good
why
point.
we're in
Good
theater.
point.
It
Well, we
is
can
our
switch
mental
to
health.
like Oscar Hammerstein died of cancer from smoking. That's happy. 1940s. It was cool. Okay, just saying.
No, you
Like a
didn't
chin.
know.
All right.
Didn't know any better.
Like, stop sharing this weird information that
I
does
love it.
not have anything to
I
do
love a
with
fun
the show.
fact.
Should have been
Sorry.
a professor back in college.
We would have gotten along.
Yeah.
So has there been any funny moments that have happened in rehearsals, things that maybe were unexpected? Is there anything that the actors did that you just like, keep it, I love that.
There have been, constantly. We have wonderful actors, and they're doing things that I had. Oh, that's what I wrote down. I didn't write that down, but I like that better. So it's wonderful. Everybody's bringing stuff to the table, and I love what they're bringing. But somebody, have y'all figured out who? Because I haven't. Somebody is leaving notes.
That's Becca. It's our dance captain for sure.
Oh, is it?
Oh, and Lisa too, I think. Oh. Well, last night at music rehearsal, whenever people would be like off or not, it wasn't one of their numbers. People were just like,
That was her just doing that last night, I think.
It's grown into
Yes, something.
people writing notes for each other whenever
which
they
is a
have
sweet
free
That's
time.
wonderful. Supportive notes telling each other.
Rebecca's been really great about like
One last night.
Pep talk.
Yeah.
the pep talks, the getting together, at Foothills outside of rehearsal to like build that, because it's true when you like connect
It's a
with
big cast.
castmates on like a personal level like that, it makes a show so much
Which is so good for a
better.
show like this, where it's about a small community where everybody knows
It's called
everybody.
community theater,
Yeah,
and this is
exactly.
a community that's building together. I should let you know, they were blaming you for a while. They were saying it's somebody with, Little Theater of Winston leaving these notes.
Oh yeah, we did throw out your name.
No,
Yeah.
I wish it was
There was
me.
one day where everyone had a note. like that was a very kind note to
Yes,
them, and then like it
very
just kind
sweet.
of passed. I think Becca was the first person. Makes sense.
It does. And somebody brought cookies. What was that? You?
No.
Someone was left.
Okay.
cookies.
Somebody left cookies.
You just got
and-
really nice cast members.
I know.
Who
I
have
just
a heart
like to
of gold
say,
and don't want
I
anybody to
haven't
know about
gotten
it.
a note.
There's one for you on the table tonight.
Is there
Seriously.
really?
Yeah. It was there last night, so hopefully no one stole it.
Well, shut my mouth. Anyway, I'm embarrassed.
People will put their best work out there when they feel loved and when they feel like they're making a good difference in the cast. So.
But how great! I mean, what theater is community, and that's great that we have that and are sharing it. That's a beautiful thing. It's special.
Plays and musicals, and they like moments like these. They only they come around every so often.
That's right. It's not every cast that does this or get this cast seems to be so supportive of each other and so uplifting, and that is awesome. That's
Both
awesome.
figuratively and literally, right, Rachel? You get lifted a couple times.
I left Rachel above my head quite a bit.
It's like at random times I didn't say, "Can I just put her on my shoulder here?" Sure, go ahead.
You can't see us, but yeah, there's a big size difference.
No, it's because Rachel weighs nothing and has ballet training, and you
I have
are
ballet
strong and have ballet training.
yeah.
It's like,
Oh, well, that's lovely.
Yes.
I know it works out.
Oh, you probably have a lot of fun together.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love getting to do lifts. So
Chris,
because I also did cheerleading too. So
Yeah, it was kind of
Like,
funny.
what?
Like I told I was emailing Katie Jo a question about something, and I also was, hey, by the way, I used to do a lot of pas de deux with a partner who was 6'1", 6'6" on point back in the day. I was like, so I'm excited to
great lifts.
I'm excited to do some lifts in the ballet and get to show that side because last year in Hair there was more of a movement show, less of a dance show.
Yeah.
So excited to do some dance and.
yeah, it's exciting because I feel like in more modern shows, there's not very many leading roles that require
Correct.
intense dancing.
Oh yeah.
So that's why I love the classics so much, is because they really do require your leads to be triple threats. And
Yeah, they do.
I love everything about theater. I love the singing, acting, and the dancing. And so I was really excited to get cast in a role that I get to do all three, and then to have strong men
That just takes her and throws her over.
strap and laugh.
My dancing is dragging her across stage,
Hey,
throwing her over
You
my
have
shoulder.
to literally pull her from the floor up to over your shoulder, and that is no short distance.
Which that was a funny moment in rehearsal.
Use your
The
legs.
first time I
Yes.
did that, and when I caught her, I like smacked the back of her thigh that just like reverberated throughout the rehearsal. I was
was
like,
the-
I'm so sorry. I'm so
No,
sorry.
but it was funny too, though, because the cast, we had practiced it just one-on-one, and the cast had not seen it, and so the first time they saw it, and you threw me so high into the air, the whole
Oh my
cast just
gosh.
went.
I literally thought you were going to throw her past your shoulder. It was like, whoa, okay, there she went.
But like
ragdoll.
that's the best, and that's what we love, is hearing people's reactions.
Oh, yeah.
And normally
Oh, yeah.
it's coming from the audience, but hearing it
The
from your fellow
castmates who haven't seen it, didn't
castmates,
see it
it's like
before.
even better. Like
Yes.
just
Our first,
And
our
she
first
gets to
swan
smack
lift
me
also
in
got
the
like
show.
a decent like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness,
For
the swan
real.
lift.
For real, she's gonna
Oh,
slap
oh,
me.
yeah,
She
yeah.
did it the
Stage
other
slap.
night.
We have a lot of stage fighting. These two have to stage fight
times.
like a couple
Yeah.
of times, but there's one real slap.
and I get it
Judd gets it.
from Laurie.
Yep.
Oh, you're a
So-
trooper.
I can't wait until we do it in front of the whole cast, and they're gonna be like, "Oh my!"
like, was that real?
She just hit him.
she didn't slap her hand on her thigh. I think that was real.
Seriously.
Well, that's something that I want the audience and the listeners and stuff to know. And I say this all the time, but it's something I just want to keep reiterating because it's so important, is that when you come to a show as an audience member, you are invited to participate. And I don't mean get up on stage and you know, push Laurey out of the way and steal the show. I mean in the sense that, you know, if they do something on stage that makes you react, makes you laugh, makes you like get upset, like feel free,
Vocalize
like
it.
express it. Like,
Oh my gosh.
I mean the actors love it, and the more energy that you bring as an audience member, the more energy your actors are going to give you. So if you come to one of those shows and you feel like, man, the energy is really low, the actor's energy is really low, I'm not saying it's your fault.
But it's your fault.
Just know that the actors are talking about you
But
backstage.
also-
So, wow, this audience.
I will say this is kind of getting a little more meta and like from a theater and actor perspective. You can't always, as an actor on stage, you can't always judge your performance by the audience's reaction.
That's
So
true.
sometimes the audiences are enjoying the hell out of a show.
Right,
and
but
just
they're
quiet.
quiet.
That
That's
is
something I learned
true.
from a lot of directors. They were like,
Especially
you cannot-
British people.
Yeah,
They're just-
do not judge your own performance by the lack of response.
Right.
Sometimes it's just that's
Right.
that's the
But
True,
the
like matinees, it's in
Yeah.
the middle of the afternoon.
But then they like love it at the end. They're like standing ovation. So like,
But then at the same time, theater is the only art, well, one of the few, because you dance, but where you actually, the audience is an active participant in the art. It's that community, it's that communication that you get to share with your laughter, your applause, your gasps, that sends energy to the actors and changes their performance, that alters what they do. And it's one of the few arts that does that. And that's a beautiful thing.
And I think too that there's like, when you have an audience that's like less reactive, one of the great things about community theater is that this is like, it might be some people's like first time experiencing theater or a musical. You don't have to go to New York to do that. You
Right.
can go right here in Winston-Salem, see it in June. And I remember doing June 6th.
we know that-
That's the opening, but yeah, 3
June
weekends.
6th,
But like
22nd.
for when we do Christmas Carol every year, we have, you know, the school groups that come in for the school shows. And I remember there was one that came in this past year and they were like stone cold silent. And it may have been like a group of middle schoolers. And I remember being backstage of like, oh, they're so unimpressed. They're like too cool for school. But then seeing them out in the foyer after, they were just like, oh my gosh, like so excited and
Can I get
so
your
nice.
autograph?
And I think it goes back right to like that etiquette. Sometimes people think that they might need to be like stone cold silent and not to react, you know,
Well,
like they're
especially
watching
with
the
those
Masters
student
or
productions,
something.
you know their teachers are like, don't you say a word,
Oh,
don't
I know.
you move.
I know.
Right.
And especially
That
with
behavior.
middle schoolers, they probably brought that
no way
hammer
to consume
down.
art.
Yeah. So, but I love the audience being a part of it and feeding off of
Yeah.
their
That
energy.
is one of the funny things, though, is that the audience is reviewing us and we're reviewing them back. Because we will
You
talk
didn't know
about
that. If you
it.
didn't know that, now you know.
We will talk about it afterwards, and we
Or
will rank
backstage,
our
you're on
audiences
stage.
and be like, "Oh, Saturdays was the best audience. Like they
yeah.
gave us the most."
True.
You know, like
We did.
it's really funny that like
So
we're
we're
also
saying drink before the show.
Buy
they offer that at
concessions that
concessions?
support Little Theater.
Concessions,
Yeah.
Jen.
Always support Little Theater. and
Love
Haynes
the
Theater.
popcorn. The popcorn is so good.
We're pushing product.
Well, we are running out of time. This has
Aw.
been so much fun. I've enjoyed just listening to all your stories and infotainment. And but we are running out of time. So I just wanted to give a quick last minute. Anything else you want to say? Anything you want somebody to know about before coming to see this show?
Come be a part of this community. Come join us.
Yeah, come to auditions. You know, this is the
I'm
final.
into the show, but sure, you go with it, Dave.
Yeah, come to the community, get involved in the Little Theater community
Yeah.
if you're interested in it. I took like a 10-year hiatus after I graduated high school and wasn't in a show until I came back in 2022 and did Christmas Carol. So very fortunate to have this community, to have met Rachel and Chris. But yeah,
It's a great thing about theater. It's got an open door policy.
totally.
Well, if that's all, then that's it for today's episode of LTWS Backstage Chronicles. A big thanks to Katie Jo, Chris, Rachel, and David for joining
welcome.
us and giving us a glimpse into the heart of Oklahoma.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
thank you.
If you loved this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share this podcast. If it really helps others discover our theater community, as you can tell, it is a wonderful community to be a part of. You will find this podcast on all major streaming platforms. And don't forget to check out ltofws.org for tickets, news, and more information. More behind-the-scenes stories are coming your way soon. So until next time, I'm Jessica Perry. Thank you for spending time with us at the Little Theater of Winston-Salem, and a big thanks to our 90th season media sponsor, Such and Such Media, for helping us with all of our podcasting needs. We would not have been able to do this without Such and Such Media and Tim Beeman. It's been a wonderful help. And as always, we'll see you at the theater.
Huzzah.
The views and opinions of this podcast are those of the contributor and not necessarily those of our distributors and hosting company. This podcast is copyrighted. Use of this podcast without express permission may result in alien blood-sucking plants taking over the world. You have been warned.